At my wife's baby shower, I stood among friends and family, smiling through the speeches and laughter. Then her best friend pulled me aside, her voice a whisper, "The baby isn't yours." My stomach turned to stone. But instead of confronting my wife privately, I grabbed the microphone. Emily and I had been together for 7 years, married for 4. We were the perfect couple, at least, that's what everyone believed. She was charming, beautiful, the kind of woman who lit up a room. And me? A devoted husband who had worked tirelessly to build our life together. When she announced her pregnancy, I was overjoyed. We had been trying for months, and this baby felt like a dream come true. Our friends and family gathered today to celebrate our growing family. But beneath the laughter and gifts, I now saw everything differently. Our perfect life was a lie. I had always trusted Emily, believed in her loyalty without question. But as I stood in the corner of the room, chatting with a few guests, something caught my eye. Her best friend, Sarah, was standing by the window, looking out over the backyard. She caught my gaze, and for a moment, I thought she'd look away like most people would. Instead, she walked toward me, her expression serious, almost guilty. "Can we talk for a minute?" she asked, leading me to a quiet corner. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the moment, but I followed her anyway. "The baby isn't yours." Her words hit me like a sledgehammer. For a second, I couldn't breathe. My heart skipped in my chest, the air in the room suddenly too thick to take in. "What do you mean?" I managed to ask, voice trembling. I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but Emily, she's been with someone else. 4 months now." The blood drained from my face. I wanted to scream, to lash out. But I held it in, every ounce of fury and disbelief swirling inside me. Instead of confronting Emily immediately, I made a choice that would change everything. The room blurred around me. Laughter, clinking glasses, the soft melody of background music, it all felt distant, unreal. My hands clenched into fists, my nails digging into my palms as I forced myself to stay composed. Emily stood near the dessert table, glowing, laughing with her friends, completely unaware that her world was about to crumble. Sarah's words echoed in my head. "She's been with someone else. 4 months." I needed proof. I needed more than just a whispered confession. Keeping my face neutral, I leaned in closer to Sarah. "How do you know?" My voice was eerily calm, but inside, a storm raged. She hesitated, then sighed. "Because I caught her. A few months ago. I walked into her apartment, and she wasn't alone." A sharp pain twisted in my chest. Apartment? Emily had told me she was working late those nights. I had never questioned it. I swallowed my anger and kept my voice steady. "Who is he?" Sarah shifted uncomfortably. "I don't know his name, but I've seen him. He's been around." "And, Jack." She hesitated. "The timing doesn't add up." "The baby." I closed my eyes, exhaling sharply. It all made sense now. The sudden pregnancy. The way she had been extra affectionate, almost as if overcompensating. I turned my gaze back to Emily. She was basking in the attention, soaking up the admiration of our guests. She had played me for a fool. I wanted to confront her, to drag her into another room and demand the truth. But no, that wasn't enough. She had humiliated me without a second thought. She had betrayed me while smiling in my face. If she could play the perfect wife in public, then I would return the favor. I would give her an audience. I took a slow, deep breath, forcing my heartbeat to steady. If I was going to do this, I needed to do it right. My eyes scanned the room. The microphone was on a stand near the cake, still live from the last speech. My jaw tightened. Emily wanted a celebration. I'd give her one she'd never forget. I straightened my tie, forcing a smile as I strode toward the microphone. My heart pounded, but my steps were steady. If Emily could lie to me with such ease, then I could return the favor. I'd let her believe everything was fine until the moment it all came crashing down. As I reached the mic, a hush fell over the room. Dozens of eyes turned toward me, expecting a heartfelt toast from the proud father-to-be. I saw Emily's face light up, her hands resting gently on her belly. She had no idea what was coming. I cleared my throat, gripping the microphone like a lifeline. First of all, thank you all for being here to celebrate this incredible moment in our lives. Emily and I are so grateful to have such wonderful friends and family. Applause. Smiles. Everything felt painfully normal. I glanced at Emily, my voice warm and steady. Emily, you are the love of my life. When you told me we were having a baby, it was the happiest moment of my life. I knew, without a doubt, that this child was a symbol of our love, our trust. She blinked, her smile softening, but I caught the slight tension in her shoulders. I took a breath and let my tone shift just slightly. But trust. Trust is a fragile thing, isn't it? A few murmurs rippled through the crowd. Emily's smile faltered. I turned to the guests, my voice carrying a new weight. They say that becoming a parent changes you, makes you more aware of what truly matters. And I agree because today, I learned something that changed me forever. A pin drop silence filled the air. Emily's fingers curled around the edge of the table. I continued, my voice calm but sharp, that sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones who betray us in the worst way. Emily took a half step forward. Jack, what? I raised a hand, stopping her cold. No. Let me finish. My gaze locked onto hers. Because if this day is about celebrating the truth, then I think everyone here deserves to hear it. Her face drained of color. She knew. And there was no escape. A suffocating silence hung over the room. I could feel the weight of every gaze, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Emily's eyes darted around, searching for an escape, for some way to regain control. But there was none. Not this time. I exhaled slowly, gripping the microphone tighter. You see, when Emily told me she was pregnant, I never questioned it. Why would I? She was my wife. My partner. The person I trusted more than anyone in the world. I let that linger for a moment, my voice steady but laced with quiet fury. Emily took a nervous step toward me. Jack, please, don't do this here. I cut her off. No, Emily. Here is perfect. Gasps rippled through the guests. Some shifted uncomfortably, while others leaned in, hungry for the drama unfolding before them. I turned back to the crowd. But trust, I said, my voice tightening, isn't something you can fake. And today, I found out that the child we're all celebrating isn't mine. A collective gasp filled the room. Plates clattered, a woman let out a sharp whisper of "Oh my God." Someone coughed awkwardly, but no one dared to break the silence. Emily's face crumbled. Her lips trembled as she reached for me. Jack, please, let's talk about this privately. I stepped back, my expression cold. Privately? Like how you handled our marriage. How you handled this pregnancy. I let my gaze sweep over the room, my voice dripping with bitter amusement. Funny how cheaters always want privacy when the truth comes out. Her breathing turned shallow, panic setting in. I pressed on. But don't worry, Emily. I'm not just making accusations. I have proof. Sarah shifted uncomfortably at the back of the room, guilt evident on her face. She hadn't wanted to be the one to expose Emily, but she had given me everything I needed. And I had taken it one step further. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. You see, after hearing the truth today, I had to be sure. So, I made a call. A paternity test takes weeks, but a simple due date calculation? I held up the paper. Let's just say the math doesn't lie. Emily's breath hitched. Jack, stop. I didn't. I unfolded the paper, reading the words loud enough for all to hear. Probability of paternity, 0%. Chaos erupted. The room exploded into chaos. Gasps, whispers, murmurs, shock spread like wildfire. A few guests stood frozen, their expressions torn between pity and horror. Others exchanged frantic glances, struggling to process the truth I had just unleashed. Emily's face was ghostly pale, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. Jack, I raised a hand, cutting her off. Don't. Just don't. My voice was quiet, but the force behind it made her flinch. Her parents looked mortified. Her mother clutched her chest, while her father's face darkened with something between rage and humiliation. Emily, tell me this isn't true, he demanded, his voice shaking. She turned toward him, tears brimming in her eyes, but for once, her usual manipulative charm failed her. I took a step forward, voice calm but lethal. You let me believe this baby was mine. You looked me in the eye, let me plan for our future, all while knowing the truth. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. And yet, you would have let me raise another man's child without ever telling me, wouldn't you? Tears streamed down her face. I was going to tell you. I shook my head. No, Emily. You were never going to tell me. You were going to let me love this child, bond with it, never knowing I was living a lie. I gestured toward the crowd. But now? Now everyone knows exactly who you are. The guests started shifting, the room buzzing with judgment and disgust. A few friends who had once admired Emily now whispered behind their hands. Even her best friend, Sarah, stood off to the side, guilt-ridden but unwilling to defend her. Then, I twisted the final knife. I turned to Emily, my voice steady. I want a divorce. Silence. She staggered back as if I had slapped her. Jack, please. I cut her off one last time. You made your choice, Emily. Now I'm making mine. I took the paternity test, placed it gently on the cake table beside the untouched plates, and turned away. The party was over. For me, it had never been a celebration, just the perfect stage for her downfall. I walked out of that house feeling lighter than I had in months. The weight of deception, of living a lie, had been lifted. Behind me, the chaos continued, Emily sobbing, her parents demanding answers, guests murmuring in shock. But I didn't look back. I didn't need to. For too long, I had been the devoted husband, the man who trusted blindly. But trust should be earned, not assumed. And love? Love without honesty was just another illusion. As I stepped into my car, I took one last deep breath, inhaling the crisp evening air. I wasn't broken. I wasn't defeated. I was free. This wasn't just the end of my marriage. It was the beginning of something new, something stronger. With a final glance at the house that no longer felt like home, I started the engine and drove away, leaving the past behind me where it belonged. Betrayal doesn't destroy you, it reveals who you were trusting all along. I walked away from that baby shower with nothing I had expected, but everything I needed: the truth, my dignity, and a future free from lies. Some endings aren't tragedies, they're the beginnings of something far greater.